Yeah, so this is the sample course that we're releasing. There's 200 of these. So this is just one of them. And it's of the Paperpot Transplanter. And I think you'll see the quality of this and the information that it gives. All of our videos are top notch and give really great information. So have a look. I credit the transplanter to one more day off a week. We went from 1 day off a week to 2 days off a week. And I think a lot of that had to do with the Paperpot Transplanter. It certainly takes some practice, not much. The most important thing is just to get the settings right when you first start using it. And how do you know the settings are right? Well, all Paperpots have the same depth. So you want to make sure that your Paperpot is set deep enough so that the top of the Paperpot is at the level of your soil, and also that when it fills it back in, that it's filling in that trench without burying it. On the business end, which is the bottom, there's just a set of wheels, and that's what adjusts the Paperpot up or down, and that's really just adjusting the trencher up or down. And that's the main part, is it's just digging a narrow trench for the Paperpots to sit in. So as you move the wheels up or down, that's gonna make a deeper or shallower trench. In my soil, I keep it at the third from the bottom, and that seems to work pretty well. But conditions change with moisture mostly. So the more moist it is, sometimes it doesn't really work well because it's not going to push the soil back, because the soil is going to be a little clumpy and stick together. So big rain last night, so I'm going to see how well it works. But you know, sometimes you just have to go ahead and plant. It's just a place for the tray to sit, a ramp for the Paperpots to go in, and then this whole place just threads it right into the trench. And then there's the, what I call the fingers, and that's pushing the soil back into the trench. And this is the other place where there's an adjustment. So you have an adjustment with the wheels and then with these. And it comes with 2 sets, right? This one's slightly longer, and that's just gonna push more soil. So in my sandy soil, if I kept these on, it would bury the seedlings. So by removing them, I'm moving less soil, and they're not getting buried. So you just experiment with having both sets on or one set on, and you can also bend them a little bit if you want, if you're not getting it quite right. But usually somewhere with these two, you should be able to get it set well. The trencher is just going to require no rocks. I mean, it's pushing things out of the way, but if there's big rocks or big roots, it's going to cause a problem in the trench. It's going to move the Paperpot transplanter over, and that's going to be a problem. Or it's going to lift it up out of the trench. So a few small rocks is no big deal, but big rocks and big roots are gonna be. First thing we do is string the bed, as always, as if we were seeding or transplanting, either way. All right, so when you get here, you just tie it off and put it to the side, because you need a place for the transplanter to come through. So I'm gonna do the dill first. And this is really the perfect size for dill. Any bigger than that, and you have a lot of problems with it surviving. But this seems to be ideal. It's almost like a microgreen stage. It's like the first, there's really no true leaves yet, just a little bit of them. And we lay the transplanter so that the trencher is just beyond the edge of the bed. And I know that with the wheels, about 2 inches from the string is good for 3 across. For dill, we do 4 across through the spring, early summer. Then it gets as hot and moist. We go down to 3 to give them a bit more air. Tray goes in. You want to take out the that white paper. And you just get underneath it. Make sure you don't pinch it, because if you pinch it, then when it gets to that point, it's just going to pull the paper pots out and rip it. So then you just get it started, get that trench started, and pull the transplanter entirely into the bed so that we're beyond the front of the bed. And this gives us a place to start it. You know, you can also use a screwdriver or chopsticks or something, but you end up walking back and forth, or you have to bring a whole bunch with you. So instead, I just take the first one, plant it deep, give it a bunch of slack so that we can just get started and I don't have to worry about it, right? And you see, once it pulls out the slack, all of that friction of the paper pots planted, it's not going to go anywhere. So I usually, when I'm doing it by myself, I'm watching the string. When you're starting out, you got to go slowly and watch what's happening, see if things are getting buried, and seeing the depth. You can't just concentrate on straight. I usually comes out right, so I just mostly look at straight and just maybe glance. And I don't run with it. You're already going a lot faster, so there's no reason to be flying down the rows. Because if you do hit something and you're going really fast, then it's impossible to fix it. If you hit it, you can adjust or pull the rock out if you're not going too fast. And then I rip it before I get to the end of the bed. I can see the 2 stakes, that's how far I'm going to get. And my beds I have set, so I have just a little extra. Then you just pull it out until the fingers bury each one. Turn it around, and then I'm going to be about the same distance as I was from the string as my wheels will be from the impression of the fingers. And that's going to be good for the 3-inch, right? You're pretty much just centering the next one. And then those wheels will be the same distance from the last one. If I was doing 4 across, the wheels would actually be sitting right on the edge of the impression on a 30-inch bed. And it's just faster if you don't have to mark the bed. As you start out, marking the bed is a good idea and getting used to the distance. But after that, it's just eyeballing it, just like when you're using a seater. All right, so I pull it in. I'm pulling just beyond the end of the bed. Got myself a new tray. You know, with lettuce heads, it's obvious that you're saving time, but with something like this, it would be impossible to do otherwise. I'm not sure anybody is transplanting dill, and this enables me to be able to do it and get a bed that's really easy to harvest and weed free. So this is cilantro. It's the same 2-inch as the dill, and this is the ideal height. This is with a couple of the first true leaves. I'm doing 2 rows because it's August, but all other times we'll do 3 of cilantro. Right, it's better for it to work than worry about density. Right, so I know that it's about double the distance from the string that I'm doing for a 3-row. You know, it takes so long to germinate in the field that this just really improves production by being able to plant at this height. Hit a rock. So instead of trying to force it, I'm just going to get it out of the way. That's it. See, if you're going fast, it's just going to jump. You know, I tell you, there's something satisfying about getting so much done without having to bend over. All right, so it's about the same distance from the string as the wheels for the 2-row, but the 2-row is less demanding on how you space it. As long as they're relatively spaced, it's not going to make much of a difference. How many jobs on the farm that you can get a lot done just by walking? Not a lot. My beds, you know, I set them up so there's a little bit extra, which usually just get thrown away. But if you have a section with bad germination, which I had at the beginning, you can just grab that little piece, right, where it's just a little spotty, and just stick it in. And then suddenly you got some good germination. And also that method can be used if you just take strips in the greenhouse when you're doing short beds and you don't have room for the Paperpot transplanter. You can rip off strips, just dig a little trench with your hand or a triangle hoe, and then stick them in, and then just come along and use your fingers to bury it. You can also have a second person just holding the tray and sliding the tray along and filling in the trench. And we do that with spinach early in the late in winter, early spring, lettuce heads. It's a hell of a lot faster than planting them one by one.